And we've got to talk about what's going on with Nicholas Kassotis. If you thought we were done with Nicholas Kassotis, you were wrong. If you missed our coverage of the Nicholas Kassotis trial, make sure you go back and watch it. This trial was one of the most interesting ones that I've seen. Nicholas Kassotis, he has been found guilty of the murder and dismemberment of his wife. And we're now going to hear from the jury foreman in this trial about what he thought about the trial, what he thought about Nicholas Kassotis, and what he thought about Jim McIntyre. Get ready for it. This is interesting.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are continuing to follow that breaking news out of Hinesville, Georgia, where convicted killer Nicholas Kassotis was just sentenced to life without parole for the death of his wife, Mindy. This former prosecutor now prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And he also served in our Navy. He had quite the resume, and it just took that jury an hour and 12 minutes to return guilty across the board. Joining us now live from outside the courthouse, we have Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft. And I understand that you've spoken to or have the jury foreperson.
Hi there, Matt and Julia. Yes, we don't always get an opportunity to hear from the jurors after the verdict, but we do have this opportunity to speak to the jury foreman. He'll come over and talk with us now. This is Kai Andrew, and so he served as the foreman of this jury. Kai, thank you so much for talking with us. You came back rather quickly, the jury did, with a verdict. Right. Walk me through it.
Well, the jury, we all sat there and took the time to really diverge, actually indulge in all the evidence that took place in this 2-week trial. And
y'all knew.
We as a jury, we already knew that after so long of actually taking in all the information, all the evidence, and everyone, all the witnesses that came up and spoke their piece, and we took notes, and as we got into it, it's not necessarily the fact that it was a short period of time. It was more that we were together on a joint decision.
Yeah.
The defendant took the stand. Nicholas Kassotis took the stand, and he spoke directly to you, saying that he did not do this.
Well,
he said, well, stop the cap. We knew. We just knew. And we knew here on this channel as well. Fun thing about covering these trials is many of us have served on the jury. Many of us could serve on the jury for a trial just like this. They use common sense. They understand the law to the degree that we understand it. Maybe we understand it a little bit more, but it's pretty easy to see when a case like this is going to go left for Nicholas Kassotis. They knew.
I will say this: if you do something wrong, like if you take the cookie out the cookie jar, you're gonna tell your mom and dad that you took the cookie? That's all I can say about that aspect.
Did anyone talk about Jim McIntyre? We heard a lot about the mystery man, Jim McIntyre, in this case. What were the discussions, if any, and what role did he play in your decision?
Jim McIntyre, the mere fact that you really can't produce any type of identification of who he truly was. I mean, of course, there's multiple people out here that are named Jim McIntyre, but not the Jim McIntyre in this case. It doesn't help. It really didn't help his case. It really didn't help this case. So
it doesn't help anything. So
whoever Jim McIntyre is, it's not possible to find him.
Was there anything that defense counsel said, or the defendant himself, that did resonate? I know the defense counsel talked about his client being an attorney himself. He served our country, so a military man. He was a JAG officer. Why sit down and talk with investigators and give up your constitutional right to remain silent if you really did do this? He freely spoke and gave his story. Did anything resonate with you at all, thinking maybe he didn't do it, or maybe he is telling the truth?
You see Doug in the background there.
When he did give up his constitutional rights and did talk about his side, I don't believe as a jury we could dismiss that. We definitely took that into consideration. We definitely considered the statements by him and the willingness he had to actually discuss what took place. But when it really comes down to it, as a jury, we have to make our decision off of the evidence.
That's right.
There's no way around that.
Did anything in regard to the DNA, no DNA here? Defense counsel talked about that.
No DNA is, it's a lot harder to justify just because you don't have DNA that the person is innocent, but at the same breath, you can't say that they're not guilty. So
there were some really tough pictures to take a look at when they were shown to the jury. The screens were turned off inside the courtroom, so we could not see them. How difficult were those? I'm certain they were very difficult to take a look at. And did that in a way, because it was such a gruesome case, is it a matter of, well, someone is guilty of this crime clearly, and this is the man the prosecutor says did it? And how much of a role did those gruesome pictures play in making a decision, if any?
Well, we got to remember, this is somebody's daughter, this is somebody's sister, this is somebody's cousin, and this is also somebody's aunt. This is a human being, and they should be treated as such. What happened to her is unspeakable. There's nothing that can be said that any type of human being deserves that type of treatment.
Thank you, Linda.
And that's kind of all I have to say on that one.
It's very difficult for Mindy's family, her family inside the courtroom, very emotional, as well as the defendant's family. Now, during sentencing, they spoke and they said that although they respect the jury's decision, they disagree with it, and they say that their son is not capable of this and did not do this. You sat in there for sentencing.
That is their child. You can't tell a parent how they feel about their child. They see their child and anybody's child in a different light from how you see their child. So I have nothing to say against that.
Motive. Prosecutors do not have to prove motive in a case. But here, there were a few different theories floated. Did you discuss anything in regard to that? The prosecutor said in closing, it's possible that Mindy finally told him that she actually was not pregnant. That made him mad. That's one of the things that they said, the prosecutor said in closing. Did you talk about theories?
We definitely did. Like I said, it might have felt like a short upcoming to this decision, but for us, it's been weeks. For us, we've pondered on this and took notes, and then when we were finally able to discuss as a group, as a jury, we really got to the point where the theories didn't match up with the evidence. So if we're trying to, like a scientist, if you have a theory, I mean, you still got to test it, right?
Sure.
So the evidence didn't suffice to the theories, and overall the decision that was made.
Yeah, and obviously you found the evidence was sufficient enough to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Right. You were the foreman. How did that come about?
Unanimously. There was many people that obviously on the jury that could have been selected, and I'm happy that the jury team selected me, and it's a great honor. I'm happy that justice was served today.
Well, Kai, thank you so much for your time. Matt and Julia, if there's any questions that you want me to ask him, I'm happy to do so. Otherwise, we can send it back to you in the studio.
Well, Kelly, one quick question, and that's about this being a military town here in Hinesville, Georgia. How did he feel about this defendant having that military background and then sitting inside of this courtroom being accused of what he's accused of?
One of our anchors back in the studio wanted to ask you about this being a military town. Throughout this case, we see military men and women walking in and out of the courtroom. He, the defendant, a military man as well, in addition to being a lawyer, in addition to having an LLM from Georgetown. How did all of that factor into the decision, being that he served our country?
It really factored in the matter of being more in detail and precise of coming to the decision as a jury. We did consider that he was a very intelligent man. He is a very intelligent man. We did consider that he did get his, like you said, his law degree from Georgetown, and that we live in a military town. we still do understand that what is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and also, I mean, with him having that much experience and seeing the law, he should have known better. If you're going to do all this, why are you talking to the police without your attorney? My God. What's the phrase they say about representing yourself? He who has himself as a client, or he who represents himself has a fool for a client. Is that the phrase? Again, if you're going to do it, why are you going to tell this story? Then he got on the stand and backed it up. Then the state was able to prove that there was blood cleaned up with a specific substance that only someone who is involved in law enforcement would know, or unless they just watch a lot of true crime, right? It was used to clean up the blood at the house. He said, I don't know about the blood. And he drove through this area where there were cameras, and his car was caught, and his car happened to blow up and explode and catch on fire. And he wasn't worried about the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the car. I mean, Blue Star, thank you. Doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense. So I can imagine me, if I were a juror on this trial, I would say this guy is supposed to be this smart and made all these missteps. Yeah, that's how I'm factoring it in. Either way, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Very interesting.